YouTube. This is Saffron DP for all, and today I'm reviewing Animal Man Volume 1. This is the collection Vertigo published. It's the first 9 issues of Grant Morrison's Animal Run. Back in the late 80s, I think it started in 98. And not sorry, 88. It's written by Grant Morrison, obviously. Art by truog, Doug Hazlewood, Tom Grummett, and covers by what's his name? Brian Bolland, sorry, who does amazing covers, and the art is really good for the 80s. Um, the introduction for this book. It's very informative. Apparently, back in the 80s when DC Comics wanted to do more adult stuff because the comics code kind of was it the comics code of 40? Didn't that like get shut down in the 80s? So and after that they wanted to do more adult stuff because they could. They went to the UK to hire writers and artists, and Grant Morrison was one of those. And apparently, as soon as he got to America, he had to do Animal Man. That was the first thing he did. At least that's what he said in the introduction. And I gotta say, his introduction was hilarious. Um, he had to do the introduction to his own book, which is pretty sad and embarrassing. He mentions that in his book, in his introduction, which is hilarious. You have some cool villains in here, but you don't have a lot of fights, and there's not really there is some conflict, but there's some stories where Animal Man is kind of like at the back, like there's like the gospel. What is it called? The Coyote Gospel story. He plays a side character in his own book, which is hilarious. A lot of this book talks about animal rights, and there's a lot of that. But the main story for this book is Animal Man Buddy Baker has a family, but he's somewhat considered an unknown in the superhero community, and he wants to do something about that. So he hires a publicist, and he tries to go out, dealing with like animal rights, um, and stuff along that nature. And he gets into fights with the first story is basically someone breaks into an lab research facility and kidnaps a gorilla or orangutan, something like that. I think no, it was a gorilla. And there was also some weird creatures. Pretty like there's some disturbing visuals in this book, which is kind of like I don't want to say that's kind of a stamp. You would kind of like a stamp note that Grant Morrison has in a lot of his books. You definitely see that a lot in like Doom Patrol and Batman and Robin, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get old, it it doesn't bother me. It's actually pretty cool. It's kind of weird to see it in like an Animal Man book, but I guess not really, because a lot of the creatures are like animal based, so that makes sense. You have this whole like mystery on like who's doing it, and there's a lot of signs, but he is still considered like an not an unknown, but he's an obscure character. And when you finally find out who's behind the lab attacks, it's kind of like, oh, no brainer. And he's a pretty cool character. I don't want to spoil it, but he was in Justice League Unlimited. Like, I think he was in one episode, like a couple episodes, and he was in a lot of episodes of Brave and the Bold. You have another story about Coyote. It's called the Coyote Gospel storyline, and it's it's basically, what if the Wile E. Coyote was transported into the real world? And yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty fucking crazy. I don't know how the hell you would get, like, how I never think about stuff like that, but apparently he did, and he put it in like a very gritty, dark way. It's a very dark storyline, and you have this other storyline dealing with the evasion events. If you know what the evasion event was in the 80s, it was basically Thanagar, the homeworld of Hawkman and Hawkgirl, invade Earth, and you have that crossover event that goes into this book. It only goes into like one issue. Um, in that storyline, it's basically about this artist and the way these artists do stuff. Like, is how the artists do their art is basically, it's somewhat complicated, but it has to do with like destruction. So this guy plans on like blowing up like a huge portion of the not. I don't know if it was like a huge portion of Earth, but it was gonna be a huge explosion. And you have this other storyline that has to do with the basically the death of Red Mask, another obscure villain. Well, I don't know if he actually is a villain. I never really seen him anywhere else, but or like if just Grant Morrison created him for this storyline. I have no idea. But that story was cool, and you have Alamo Man talking to him, trying to well, he wants to commit suicide. He's like trying to talk him out of it. And you have this other storyline with it's not really a storyline. It's just one issue. Um, and you see Mirror Master for the first time, and Mirror Master gets sorry, not the first Mirror Master, the newest Mirror Master, the Scottish one. He was created by Grant Morrison. I didn't know that. Um, and this Mirror Master is kicking the ass out of Alamo Man. Yet when his wife, Alamo Man's wife, gets in the fight, oh my, it's fucking hilarious. Like she kicks out like Mirror Master's ass for a while, and it's fucking hilarious. Excuse my language. Oh, by the way, if I forgot to mention, Alma Man is married with two kids. One's 10, the other's like, I think, I think he's 10. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell when it's like drawn. Like, I think he's definitely around the 10, like 11 age. And you have the other girl, like his daughter, I think is like 4 or 5. I think. I'm not completely sure. You see, and you have some cool cameos. You have there's a cameo with like Superman, and it's just with Owlman's just chilling, and like Superman just comes out of nowhere to say hi to him, and just fucking leaves. You have another cameo of Hawkman, and there's even like I would I would say this is more of a cameo. Martian Manhunter shows up, and he's there for like the entire issue, and he's bonding with Animal Man's son, Clint. Is it Clint or Cliff? It's Cliff. I talk too much about the individual like issues. I'm gonna go with my likes dislikes. Good dialogue, cool original story arcs, great covers. The art's really good too. Cool cameos, very dark, gritty, and good gore. And I love the fact that Grant Morrison in this book, he's not afraid to fuck up like the main character. Like usually when you see like superhero comic books, you rarely see the main character get bloody and fucked up and lose some fights. Not in this book, which is good to see. Like I like to see like the main character not like a total badass in it, who's somewhat vulnerable. It has some good family elements, which kind of rivals that of Fantastic Four. Dislikes. It's very animal rights preachy to the point where it makes no fucking. I wouldn't say it doesn't make no sense, but it's like point where you gotta be fucking kidding me. There's this one debate with Buddy Baker and his publicist about like animal rights, and there's a point where like Buddy Baker's like that animals and humans like they both have the same right to live, and he almost said that animals like have more of a right than humans. Like if you can like I don't know, it's like he's saying it like okay, the publicist is like I think it's like all right to experiment with animals if it's to save human lives and Animal Man is like no, that's wrong. Like animals have the right to live as much as everybody. And to the point I'm sorry, I this is going to get controversial. That makes no sense. I'm sorry. If I have to choose between like an animal living or a human, I'm going to go with the human. Okay? And people are like, "Oh, like animal rights if you don't want to be like to eat meat, that's cool with you. But if this bullshit saying like animals have a right to life more than humans and we're not gonna eat animals because it's wrong and animals are so innocent. I'm sorry, but animals fuck each other over all the time. Not eating meat. I'm sorry, if just eating meat doesn't. If you're not gonna eat meat, that's cool, but don't give me shit for eating meat and saying like I'm not like all right with animals. I agree to a point like with experimentation. If you're gonna do like makeup experimentation, if you're just doing experiments to make money and it's no way like contributing like to solving like diseases and shit, like human diseases, curing human diseases, then that's kind of wrong. That is wrong in my book. If you're just doing experimentation just to make money and just do makeup experimentation, all that bullshit, then that's fucking wrong. But I'm sorry, but if I'm driving down like a road with my family doing 70 on a highway at night and like a deer, like not a deer, like a fucking like cat or dog or whatever, I'm not I'm gonna ran that fucking thing over. Cause if I try to swerve out way doing 70, I could go like hit a tree or something and like fucking endanger the safety of my family. I'm sorry, but that fucker is gonna die. If I have to protect my family, that fucker's gonna die. That's a clear cut case of you or me, and you best believe it ain't gonna be me. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Even Quentin Tarantino had like no, was it? What? No, it wasn't Quentin Tarantino. It was the other guy. What? Who's the guy that does fucking? Who's the guy that does the Machete El Mariachi? I forget his name. Robert Rodriguez. Even he said if you're going like if you try like to swerve out of the way of like an animal walk like like in front of you down the highway, it's more dangerous to try to get out of the way than to hit it. Um, so yeah, fuck. This review's gonna be long. So yeah, the whole animal rights thing, I agree to it to an extent. Like, there's nothing. I have nothing against animals, but if you're a vegan or whatever, that's cool with you. Just don't preach that to me, and I'm cool with the book doing that, but don't be like insane with that. Come on. Redneck. Sorry. I was gonna say rednecks. No. Hunters in this book are portrayed as crazy rednecks. Are you fucking me? I have hunter friends, and I'm in the outdoors club at school. Well, I was at the outdoors club. Hmm. Where hunters are not all fucking crazy rednecks, and that kind of insults me personally. Like we're not all redneck assholes. That's all I gotta say. And this book, it it kind of does like a genre frenzy kind of deal. Like it switches genres like a lot. There's a point where like it turns into like a sci-fi. It turns into a family drama. It goes into like kind of a mystery kind of deal. It turns into like a fucking cart. Even one issue, it turns into like a fucking cartoon fantasy. Like this whole genre, fucking I'm, genre frenzy thing. It's like, come on, like what stick to one thing. Well, not one thing, but don't fucking just juggle like um, genres like all the time, like every issue. That's that gets a little weird, but it's not necessarily bad. It's just if there's gonna be like one issue where it turns into a horror book and next issue turns into a romance, that's gonna get a little weird. It hasn't done that yet. Hopefully it doesn't. But I hear there's an issue coming where this is pretty well known that Grant Morrison does a cameo where he's just talking to the main character, asking why, like telling him why all this bad shit's happening to him, which is you. You, I'm sorry, but that's to do something like that. You would have have a pretty big ego. It's one thing to do a cameo of yourself and it's comedic, but to do it where it's like serious and you're trying to make like a fucking drama kind of thing, that's kind of egotistical. But this is a great book, but I have some problems with it, and I got take away major points. Um, so for my rating, I'm gonna give it like a low must own, like a high rental, which is in my rating system is like a 3.5 out of 5, which isn't bad. That's like I would definitely recommend buying this book. It's 25 it's 24.99 in Canada. It's $20 and it's $20 in the states. I definitely recommend this book. It's pretty good, and there's only 3 volumes. I'm gonna pick them all up and I'm gonna review them. That's all I gotta say. See you later.